This is the second webinar we have of 3. The first one last week was about narrowband IoT, and today we're going to talk about our solutions and the technology itself, about LoRaWAN. My name is Niklas Ermensjö, and I'm the moderator today. I'm head of export markets at Elvaco. We have with us today David Wonasek, who is CEO. David will talk about Elvaco's vision and mission. Christopher Wonasek, our product manager, he will talk about LoRaWAN as a technology and then about our solutions within LoRaWAN. Questions and answer will be held after this session, so please write all your questions in the chat and we will answer as many as possible depending on the time we have. If we can't cover all the questions, feel more than free to contact your key account manager at Elvaco, and we will set up a meeting to go through it with you afterwards. Thank you very much, and I will now hand over to David Wonasek.
Yes, hello everyone, nice to see you all. So my name is David Wonasek and I'm the CEO of Elvaco Evo. I've been in the company for over 20 years now. I have a product within, I have a background within product development, and I'm just going to give you a short introduction of Elvaco Evo. And I know that you who participated in the NB IoT meeting, this will be a little bit of repeat, so bear with me. So we started up already in early 1980s, and we provide our first energy efficiency solution already in 1986. I would say that a lot of things have changed since 86, but I would say that the core of Elvaco is still the same. We provide technology to improve resource usage. Buildings are responsible for 40% of the energy consumption in the EU, and I must say that I'm really happy that I'm working in a company where we can do a change. We also focus on 3 main sustainability goals. Number 7, affordable and clean energy. We have a number 9, industry, innovation and infrastructure. And we also have goal number 12, which is responsible consumption and production. So these are the areas where we focus and where I think that we, together with you, can make a change. And also, it's great that we have a lot of new technologies in the market today, which creates a lot of new different applications or possibility to applications. So we have a lot of different applications within mobility, society, and retail, and so on. But we believe that strong vertical knowledge is the key to success. So we have focused on the segment buildings and utilities. And also we believe that a good knowledge from a good knowledge in an end-to-end solution is also very important to provide something that is giving value to our customers. So we have 4 different product segments. We have our sensor portfolio with indoor and outdoor sensors with the wireless M-Bus, wired M-Bus, LoRaWAN, and so on. We have our meter connectivity modules made for the leading meter manufacturers in the world. And we provide LoRaWAN, NB-IoT, wireless M-Bus, wired M-Bus, and different connectivity, also LTE, and so on. We also have infrastructure, which is very important for us, where we collect and transport meter data. We have specialized in wired and wireless M-Bus. And on top of that, we have our cloud system Evo, where we today host approximately 300,000 meter points. And we are around 10 people running our cloud system today and providing our services. So we have been in the business for almost 40 years. And just to mention, one important part is that we got acquired by Investment AB Latour, a long-term stable investment company in Sweden in 2014, which created good foundation for our continuous journey. And we have put in a lot of effort and money in product development the last years. So this is actually what we are looking into today when we are going to show our LoRaWAN technology. We also opened up our subsidiary Elvaco GmbH in 2020. We still have our headquarters in Kungsbacka, Sweden. We are approximately 60 employees, highest credit rating. We also have local presence in UK and Spain. We also believe that using standards is very important. So we have an ongoing work in and are members of OMS Group and LoRa Alliance. So we continue our journey of providing even better products to our customers. So that's more or less everything from me. I'm keen on listening to Christopher, who's going to tell a little bit more about the head topic for today, LoRaWAN. So if you have any questions, just ask them during the Q&A session. So thank you very much, and the floor is yours, Christopher.
Yes, hello, my name is Christopher Wonaszek. I have also worked with Elvaco for a long time, roughly 20 years, and I have my background in little bit in development, but mostly project and sales. And now I'm a product manager for our meter connectivity module division, and especially utilizing the technology LoRaWAN and NB-IoT. So my first session here will be about the LoRaWAN technology, and maybe also if you have been around for the last meeting with NB-IoT, the last webinar, there will be a little bit of repetition, but I try to, let's say, focus on the LoRaWAN bits and details from the Elvaco solution. So what is LoRaWAN? Normally, you say LoRa. LoRa is the radio part of the LoRaWAN technology, and on top of the radio, the LoRaWAN Alliance have created a layer where they have defined how to utilize this radio in the best way in different links, and also adding the part of a network server. So this is the build up of the LoRaWAN technology from the radio to the application and transport layer. It is an energy efficient technology. It creates the possibility to have long range and deep indoor penetration. But the downside is that it has a low bandwidth and you can only send limited amount of data. And it utilizes license-free spectrum. As you can see here, you have different frequencies depending on different geographical locations. And that means that you are actually competing on the radio airtime without other units utilizing the license-free radio spectrum. But the positive side is that you can build your own network. And also if there is an available LoRa network provider, you can easily change between them because there are no need for changing SIM as you have on the NB-IoT or other cellular solution today. The drawback is, of course, the performance of the network can change over time because of other networking products that can affect the radio airtime. If we see where LoRaWAN positions itself, if we compare to other technologies, you can see that it's range-wise roughly the same as NB-IoT, but the throughput, the bandwidth is a little bit less, let's say. So from that point of view, that's the main difference between the technologies that Elvaco utilize for low power wide area network. Go to the next slide. If you look at the basic architecture of the LoRaWAN and also the security of LoRaWAN as a technology, you can see end devices in the end are communicating with what we saw, let's say, gateway or concentrators with very little, let's say, functionality inside. They are monitored and actually managed by what is really the brain in the architecture is the network server. And from the network server, data is then pushed or utilized on the application server side, where you can decide where and how to actually use the data. And it's all TCP/IP communication over LoRaWAN, and it's OIS 128-bit secured. So it's a very secure protocol, and that is one of the benefits with the LoRaWAN, that the security is standardized within the protocol. So that is already done. What is not standardized is the payload delivery, but I'm coming to that later on when we talk about the Elvaco way of putting data from end devices to the application. To actually secure the communication between the different entities in the LoRaWAN architecture, it has been divided between network security and application security. This is because you want to divide the operator of the communication part and you want to have another maybe operator to run the application server. So you can actually put a network operator in charge of running your devices with one security session, and then you can secure another path where you want to use the data. This is very useful and also one of the benefits with LoRaWAN. And these network session keys and application session keys are set up in different ways depending on if you activate the communication. There are today two ways of activate a LoRaWAN device. It's OTAA, over-the-air activation, or activation by personalization, ABP. I would say by far OTAA is the most common one and actually the most secure one, and results in less work when you want to change settings on the device and also network provider. Over-the-air activation, then you utilize something that is called an app key, actually to derive application session key and network session key without sending the app key between the device and the network server. So it's a very secure way. Activation by personalization requires more work. It means that you use hard-coded keys from the device and also in the network server to actually hard-code the way and path of who are accepted in which network server and can communicate there. And it does not use the join server. There are now minor differences between LoRa 1.0 and 1.1, which I must mention because it's an add-on in the 1.1 standard, the network key. And it is for having the benefit of having a join server where the device can actually do the join to a join server, and then the join server knows which network server to use. And this is new in 1.1. Why, if we compare to wireless M-Bus that has been around for a long time, I would say in the AMR business and especially for heat metering, in wireless M-Bus you have a defined data rate and you work with that. The benefit with LoRaWAN is that actually the device adapts to the dynamic radio environment and change the data rate, how it actually transmits the data. So if you have a poor radio environment, it actually slows down the data rate, so you have higher throughput, let's say, and higher possibility to actually receive the message. The downside of this adapted data rate is that it takes longer time and longer air time to send the message, and then you cannot send as often to keep the limitations of the free radio spectrum of air time. And also you can see when we talk about the different data rate allows different size of payload. And on the higher speed data rate, you can transmit up to 222 bytes. But on the slower data rates, you're only allowed to say 51 bytes per telegram. So these are, let's say, the positive and negative effects of having an adaptive data rate. But it's also one of the main changes if we talk about the difference between wireless M-Bus and LoRaWAN as a radio technology. And what is also a main difference is that the downlink communication over LoRaWAN is very standardized, and it's also something that is mandatory. Here we have different versions of downlink communication, and a LoRaWAN device must comply to Class A downlink communication. Class A means that after a transmission from the end device, and transmissions is activated by end device here, it has reception windows where it can actually where the network are allowed or have the possibility to hook up to the device and send downlink commands to the end device. Class B, and that is the most, Class A is the most energy efficient solution to run that. Class B is when a device has defined windows when it's available for downlink commands. And Class C is when a device is, let's say, always available for downlink commands. And they are in the range of A, B, and C, also more, less, and least energy efficient, and also less suitable for battery operated operations. Of course, there are some very known limitations on the LoRaWAN as a technology. It's the amount of data allowed in a network. You are competing on a free licensed spectrum, and also the LoRaWAN network server provider might limit you to the number of message telegrams as well, and the number of transmissions allowed. And also, let's say a big difference between NB-IoT and LoRaWAN is the amount of data in the payload. It's per transmission. As a heat utility, you normally want more and more data because you want to optimize your production or see exactly where the energy is actually going, and then you need more and more information. And we have, I will come back to that with the payload delivery to explain how we at Elvaco have solved that for LoRaWAN. And why and when should you use LoRaWAN? It's very suitable for battery operated devices. And it's actually now with a nice downlink command, we can actually have timestamp values because we can have a proper time synchronization in comparison with like wireless M-Bus. And it's also when you do not need as high granularity, maybe as LTE or even NB-IoT, that is also a demand. It's also very good that you have the standard security available in the defined in the standard as LoRaWAN. That is very easy to, let's say, and manage the security. It's scalable. You can add base stations. You can add airtime to actually mount more base stations in the field. And it's a standardized way of communication, and it supports downlink command. And that's, in my opinion, one of the key benefits with LoRaWAN compared to wireless M-Bus. So how have we adopted this LoRaWAN technology into our solution at Elvaco? What have we done here? And if we see from our product portfolio, you can see that we work with the leading meter manufacturers here in Europe, and we try to actually have the possibility for you as a utility to decide what kind of meter do I want and what technology do I want to communicate on. That is what we mean when we are technology agnostic. Also, we want to keep it as a platform. That means that as much should be in common between both technology, LoRaWAN or NB-IoT, but also between meters. So if you have used one meter from one manufacturer, you should recognize very much if you choose another meter from another meter manufacturer. So that is the benefit of using the Elvaco LoRaWAN/NB-IoT platform. And also what we have seen as a benefit of utilizing the Elvaco way is that we have the whole life cycle of the product, all the way from production through order and logistic, commissioning, device management, and data management as already in the design phase of the product, and also when we want to actually sell the product. Because you need to have all these in place to have a really good project with a successful outcome. So we go into the different parts, and this has not so much with the LoRaWAN technology, but it's very important that all products from Elvaco, they have full individual product testing. And it's also when we are dealing with the security concepts of actually both NB-IoT and LoRaWAN, those security keys are created in production in a secure cloud, and also utilizing a specialized physical onboard security chip to have a secure place of this information on the device. And of course, we need to support it with our own production system, and it's in the cloud to remove the possibility of data security breach at the EMS. So all this information is not, let's say, stored or handled at the EMS. It's in the cloud from the production system. Of course, we do the audit at the EMS, and also Elvaco especially, but also all our partners are ISO certified accordingly. When you order a LoRaWAN device from Elvaco, it's very important that the information is traceable, but also the security information or the information from the order should be very easily accessible to the LoRaWAN network operator. Because here is one of the, let's say, I don't say downsides, but one of the hurdles with LoRaWAN compared maybe to NB-IoT, but all information to start up the device is included in the SIM card. Here we must actually give information to the LoRaWAN network server or operator to actually run the product in that environment. And this information needs to be easily and secure delivered from Elvaco to within the network operator where the product should be run. and that is very important. So what we have done is that we have prepared both our KMS system, key management system, and also our logistic chain to support a lot of LoRaWAN network server with this information in a machine-to-machine way. Also, what benefits from our product that we can sell them as or deliver them pre-configured for automatic activation in field. Some meters might have triggered that, okay, after a certain flow it starts, then all the settings in the device can be pre-configured locally at Elvaco, or actually even with the locally with an NFC interface to an app, so it can start automatically. We support, and most of our meter manufacturer partners support, that the option board can be mounted at the factory, so the utility can receive a plug-and-play meter. We're both in concern to pre-configuration, also in the mounting in the board. Of course, all information here is traceable, and the security information can be very, very securely communicated between the different systems. And this picture is to actually emphasize that we do not, okay, we have the possibility, but we do not need to send CSV file or Excel file with secure information. Our system supports direct security authenticated connection between our KMS system and different LoRaWAN network servers around the world. And this has been enabled for a couple of the major network servers available. Also, in the commissioning part, we want to make it very simple and also let the possibility for the technician in field to have a full, let's say, control over the installation to secure the success or the quality of the installation. So we have developed an app which utilizes the NFC interface of the device to give the proper information about the device and also the success rate of connectivity, but also the possibility to change settings in the device. Of course, only have the right authentication, and also if you have this right, the security credentials. It's also an in-field analyze tool, so you actually can see the signal strength and also how, let's say, what data rate it works on and so on. And this is securing the quality of the installation. If you or anyone else would like to develop your own app, or if you have a work order management system, utilize already NFC of a tablet or so, this NFC interface is available for direct development. Now we're coming into the device management part. If someone were in the NB-IoT seminar, there we're utilizing lightweight M2M as the protocol to do device management. And when I talk about device management, I mean maybe change sending interval, change date and time, or let's say message format. What kind of payload would I like? In LoRaWAN, some of these are, let's say, standardized, some are not. We can change the settings over NFC locally, but it's also available over downlink, and that is really good. What we also use downlink for is to send the proper meter time or the proper time to the meters clock, because we're using the meters clock to timestamp value. So we have a direct communication from a time server through the LoRaWAN network down via Elvaco meter connectivity module over LoRa to the meters clock. Also, a difference between NB-IoT to LoRaWAN is that we cannot change the firmware on the board on the meter connectivity module. That is a possibility over LoRaWAN or over NB-IoT. And then, okay, what is sent from the meter? What is the actual payload, and how have we utilized one thing that is not standardized over LoRaWAN, or yet, I would say. We are, as David said, a part of the LoRaWAN Alliance and the LoRa and the OMS group, and we're working really hard to actually implement, and I think we showed it on the NLIT fair, a device LoRaWAN with OMS compliant payload. And this is what our products all support. OMS encoded data, but for making it easy for we also have included a clear text, you can see JSON. But as I mentioned before, the platform is limited for 51 bytes of payload. And if you code it as a JSON, which is a bulky and it requires a lot of characters to present a little data, we are utilizing Mbus mostly because it's a very nice way to encode and compress data, and it's also very familiar to a lot of head-end system actually to decode. And for, let's say, all our products from Elvaco side has different message formats. And here you can see this is the 4111, which fits into Landers+Gyr T230 heat meter. For this meter, I think we have 8 or 9 different message formats, but all Elvaco LoRaWAN devices has standard, compact, and JSON format, and they are very similar or not identical between the different meters. Then we have more message formats. Let's say if you want like scheduled daily redundant, here we're reading out one value, let's say 12 o'clock, and sends it, let's say, every hour during that day. That is for having a high probability for not lose a message and still have a timestamped value to the head-end system. And these message formats can differ a little bit from meter to meter, but always standard, compact, and JSON are available in all meters. And here's a really nice feature that we have implemented in our products. We call it Echo Mode. Echo Mode is something that when we design a product in the design phase, we have an expectation, or let's say a design criteria, that the module must run for a certain lifetime, let's say 11 years or 16 years. But as I mentioned before, depending on the radio, let's say the quality of the radio airspace, the module adapts and goes into different data rates. So if you want to have 15-minute values and the product requires data rate 0 to actually push this value, it will not be possible because it takes too much battery and you will actually have the reduction of lifetime. So we have a mode when you put Echo Mode on, we actually know exactly on which data rate are we allowed to communicate how often. Of course, this can be overridden manually, but then you know that the battery lifetime of the product cannot be guaranteed anymore. So this is a special feature that Elvaco devices has to actually secure the lifetime of the battery of the device. And all this information, all these possibilities, you can run them in different at different service provider and utilize the data at different visualization software and so on. But Elvaco has the whole chain from production to data management, the Elvaco services. And we also have the interaction and integration to most major LoRaWAN network providers, but also the LoRaWAN network servers. So we can actually very, very fast be up and running to get data through any LoRaWAN network to Elvaco services where we can actually do device management. We can look at data quality and collect data, make it available over a standard API to any billing and also statistical system. And it's especially good for visualization of the heat data as well. So this was a little bit about Elvaco and the LoRaWAN, what we have done. And the lessons learned during this time for the last, I think, 4 or 5 years where we have deployed LoRaWAN devices is that it's much about the hardware here, because the LoRaWAN standard is very well defined and how it should work. Then you must have a very good device when we talk about radio performance. And what we have seen is, and what the information we got actually just this spring, is that it was a major network provider that benchmarked several LoRaWAN end devices. And actually an Elvaco device, they measured it by how many of the devices were utilizing what kind of data rate or spreading factor, as it's also mentioned in the LoRaWAN standard. And average on all other devices was that they were 40% utilizing spreading factor 7. And spreading factor 7 is the highest data rate and occupy the least of the airtime. And the Elvaco device were above 80% of the spreading factor. And this is, let's say, a really good quality mark of the Elvaco devices, and also a benefit for the network operator, because you can you can actually fit more devices in the field with the same infrastructure if they all work on a let's say a faster data rate or lowering spreading factor. That is really good. And also what we have seen, that the possibility to have a pre-configured device for easy rollout and also machine-to-machine feed the network server with the needed information to operate the device is also very important to have a seamless project. This was the, let's say, information I have about our project and devices. And if you want more information, please contact anyone at Elvaco or Key Account and we will help you.
Great, very interesting, and thank you very much, both David and Christopher. We are now opening up for Q&A, and as I can see, we have one question in the chat right now. I think it was answered during the presentation from Christopher, but let's ask it again, and maybe you can elaborate a bit. It is a question in the chat asking, please, this external radio modules, LoRaWAN Narrowband IoT, what is the input? Is it M-bus to IoT?
Okay, this is the, let's say, the unique thing with Elvaco, that we work with the meter manufacturer. And these devices that I mentioned today are meter connectivity module. That means that they are actually fitted inside the meter on the meter's, let's say, option board interface. So different meter manufacturer has different protocols on their meter interface that we actually convert into M-bus. And I don't want to mention any special, let's say all the meter manufacturers have different ways to present the data on their interface. What we do at Elvaco is that we consolidate this information into a standard OMS M-bus message. And of course, JSON, but I would say M-bus is the most preferable one. So I hope that is the answer to the question, that we take a very, let's say, meter proprietary protocol and makes it available with standard OMS over LoRaWAN. So this is the, let's say, unique thing with Elvaco as a meter connectivity module provider. There is nothing Elvaco proprietary with our solution. All is based on standard.
Great. It feels like he got the answer he asked for there.
Yeah.
We are having some time left, but I can't see any more questions. So if you don't have any more questions right now, and you come up with some more later on, feel free to contact your Elvaco Key Account Manager, and we will set up a meeting to go through everything or your specific questions again. Here was actually another question right now. Hi, great presentation, thanks. As lightweight M2M 1.2 offers same LoRaWAN integration, can you see it as option for device management of LoRaWAN devices in the near future?
Maybe David, you're, let's say, the overall responsible for our product portfolio.
Yes, I would say that we of course look into all possibilities, and as you know, the NB lightweight M2M is a preferable technology. So of course, if we can streamline our device management with lightweight M2M over time with LoRaWAN, so we would of course do that. Also, when we look into other technologies as CAT-M or LTE, we are also going for lightweight M2M. So I would say that would be let's say the probably the way where we're heading. Yes.
Great. Thank you, David. With that said, we have our last webinar of 3 here on Thursday next week. So if you haven't registered for that webinar, please do it. It will be as interested as those 2 webinars we just had. Thank you very much all, and have a continuous good day, and see you soon.
Thank you.
Thank you very much. Bye-bye. Have a nice day.
Thank you.